You don't notice the moment money stops being real. Prices tick up, coins feel a little lighter. The government starts saying everything's fine. Your paycheck goes up, but it buys less. If you're living through it, it feels like bad times. Only later do historians give it a name: a crisis, a collapse, an age of inflation. For Rome, that age began with 7 words from a dying emperor: enrich the soldiers and despise all others. Septimius Severus said that to his 2 sons in 211 AD. 50 years later, Roman silver coins were mostly copper, wearing a thin silver mask. Soldiers demanded payment in food and land. Merchants refused state prices. Border generals built their own mini-empires. Rome didn't just have bad money. Rome had taught itself that money was a lie. This is the story of how a single political decision rewired an economy, and how long it took for the bill to come due. Welcome back to The Roman Pattern. I'm your host, Jeremy Ryan Slate, the CEO of Command Your Brand. We help our clients to appear on some of the biggest podcasts in the world. Check us out via the link in the description. And now, our story. To understand why Rome's money died, you have to go back to the moment where power got a sticker price: 193 AD. Emperor Pertinax lies dead in his own palace, murdered by the Praetorian Guard for trying to clean up the mess left by Commodus. The Guard storms their camp on the edge of Rome and does something the ancient world has never seen. They auction off the empire. Whoever pays the most rules. Didius Julianus, a wealthy senator, wins the bid. Each guardsman gets a vast donative. The message is clear: loyalty isn't sacred. It's for sale. That day, something shifted in the Roman mind. The army learns it can turn violence into a bonus check. Politicians learn that the route to power runs through military wallets. The throne becomes not a sacred office, but a very expensive chair. Into this world walks Septimius Severus. He marches on Rome, kills Julianus, and breaks the old Praetorian Guard. He replaces it with his own men, and he quietly locks it in a new reality. From now on, the emperor is the CEO of a military corporation, and every corporation has a payroll. Before Severus, a Roman legionary earned about 300 denarii a year. A denarius was real money, about 3.5 grams of silver, over 75% pure. Think of it as a small, bright discs of stored labor, mined from Spanish hillsides, smelted, minted, and marched to the frontiers. It wasn't just a paycheck. It was a trust in metal form. Now layer in the scale. Roughly 30 legions, auxiliary units on top, around 400,000 men under arms. At 300 denarii each, Rome's military salary bill is about 120 million denarii a year. Before bonuses, before veterans' land grants, and before the grain dole for Rome itself. The system worked as long as 3 things stayed in balance. Silver came steadily from mines, taxes arrived in coin and kind, and emperors didn't promise more than the mines could produce. Well, Severus broke that balance. To secure his throne, he did exactly what you'd expect a modern politician to do in an election year. He gave his key constituency a raise. He bumped legionary pay from 300 to 450 denarii, a 50% increase. Run the math here. 400,000 soldiers times 150 extra denarii is 60 million additional denarii a year. That's on top of the 120 million already due. An empire that was barely balancing his own books now had to conjure half again as much silver every single year. With the same mines, the same tax base, and the same geography. Severus also increased the size of the army and made the Praetorians, his handpicked bodyguard, even more privileged. On his deathbed, the philosophy behind all this gets compressed to a sentence: enrich the soldiers and despise all others. In human terms, it means the following: overpay the army, underpay the rest of society. In economic terms, it means we're going to break the money. Rome didn't have printing presses. It had something better, chemistry. Under Severus, the silver content of denarius drops from around 78.5% to roughly 64.5%. The coin still looks like silver. It still carries the imperial portraits, the proud legions, the goddess of victory on the back. But inside, each coin has 14% less actual silver. If you're the emperor, this feels like magic. With the same pile of bullion, you can mint more coins. That's an extra 60 million denarii you can promise to the legions. You can get closer without raising taxes enough to provoke a rebellion. Here's the problem. Money is not what you print on the surface. It's what people believe underneath. Merchants weigh coins, money changers watch the color of worn edges, and provincial elites pay their own troops. They know how much silver fits in a bag. They notice. Imagine you run a workshop making swords in Gaul. 10 years ago, a sack of 1,000 denarii bought you a set amount of iron, charcoal, and wages. Now those coins feel a bit light. They're more copper and less silver. Do you charge the same price? Well, of course not. You either demand more coins or you start preferring payment in kind. Grain, livestock, land, anything but imperial promises in bad metal. What Severus has really done is not create more money. He has created more tokens that claim to be money and started a silent negotiation with the entire empire about what those tokens are worth. The state says, this is 1 denarius. It's legal tender. The marketplace replies, we'll see. Severus dies, and his son Caracalla inherits an empire with a permanently enlarged army, a permanently higher payroll, a tax base already stretched, and a currency that's been nudged off of its foundations. Caracalla's solution is bold. In 215 AD, he introduces a new coin, the Antoninianus. It's officially worth 2 denarii, but it doesn't contain twice the silver. Not even close. The first Antoniniani are about 50% silver. A decent denarius at this time might still be above that. So in terms of actual metal, Caracalla's 2 denarius coin is more like 1.5 denarii in disguise. In modern terms, it's like printing a $20 bill that the paper and backing of assets say is worth $15, then insisting everyone treat it as $20. For the army paid in nominal amounts, this looks great. For the treasury, which cares about silver outflow, it's a lifesaver. For everyone else, it's a slow-motion disaster. Because now Rome's money has split personalities. There's the legal value, what the emperor says a coin is worth, and there's the metal value, what the silver itself can buy. Every time those two numbers diverge, the temptation to cheat grows. If you're a tax collector, you pass on the worst coins to the central government and keep the better ones for yourself. If you're a provincial governor, you pay your local garrison in debased Antoniniani and hoard the higher silver denarii. If you're a merchant at the empire's edge, you start preferring foreign coins or bullion by weight. The denarius used to be a brand. Now it's a lawsuit between the emperor and the marketplace. So did the Romans know they were living through inflation? Well, they didn't have our vocabulary, but they had our complaints. Letters and legal documents from the 3rd century mention prices rising, wages failing to keep up, and shortages of good money. But we see in papyri from Egypt listing prices of everyday goods doubling, tripling over a few decades. We see it in imperial edicts trying to cap costs or fix exchange rates between coin types. We see it archaeologically, hoards where people bury older, higher silver coins and spend the junk. Under Elagabalus and Severus Alexander, the silver content keeps sliding. 50%, 45%, towards 40%. Then the real crash begins. During the crisis of the 3rd centuries, emperors come and go. What stays constant is the fiscal math. Every new usurper must outbid the last in donatives to the army. Every lost battle means lost tax base. Every civil war means provinces devastated and less surplus to tax. You're now running an empire-sized war machine on an economy that's steadily losing its trustworthy money. By the time of Valerian and Gallienus in the 250s and 260s, the Antoninianus has become a joke. Silver content slides towards 20%, then 10%. At points down to 2 to 4%. The mints start surface enriching coins, washing copper blanks in a silver solution so they look bright when new, but reveal their brown core as they wear. Your coin literally flakes its lie away in your hand. Think about the psychological effect. A Roman armor gets paid in shimmering Antoniniani. A month later, the edges are streaky copper. A year later, the emperor's face is staring back from what is basically a bronze slug. At some points, people stop arguing about the face value and start asking a more dangerous question. If the emperor lies on a coin, where else is he lying? You can run a complex empire on bad money for a while. But at some point, the dysfunction becomes physical. Soldiers on the frontier realize their pay won't buy enough grain at market prices. They begin demanding rations directly from local farmers. Now taxes in money turn into taxes in kind. Forced deliveries of food, animals, and gear. The line between taxation and extortion blurs. Provincial elites squeezed from both sides by imperial tax demands in debased coins and by local garrisons demanding supplies, ask themselves the question that haunts every empire in decline. What exactly are we getting in return for this? Protection? Rome can't even keep its own emperors alive. Stability? There's a civil war every few years. Reliable money? The coins darken month by month. This is where the money and politics become the same story. In the 260s, the empire fractures. In the west, the Gallic Empire splinters under Postumus. In the east, the Palmyra Empire under Odenathus and Zenobia runs a de facto Eastern Empire. These breakaway regimes mint their own coins, project their own fiscal stability. Local elites start to see them as better guarantors of value than the legitimate emperor in Italy. That's the ultimate verdict on currency. Not what's printed on it, but whose face people still trust. Rome hadn't just debased its silver, it had debased the idea that Rome itself was a reliable counterparty. The miracle isn't that Rome's money died. It's that Rome managed a partial resurrection. In the 270s, Aurelian tries to clean up the mess, reforming the mints, punishing corruption, and slightly improving silver content. Later, Diocletian will overhaul the system again, introduce new denominations, and eventually issue his famous price edict trying to clamp down on runaway costs. But notice what never comes back: the high silver denarius of the early empire. The casual trust that the Roman money is good money everywhere. The idea that the army is a modest line item, not the whole budget. Severus' deathbed advice has done its work. Enrich the soldiers and despise all others turned out to mean eat your currency, squeeze your taxpayers, and teach everyone that the empire's promises are negotiable. Once that lesson sinks in, you can remint coins, rebuild walls, and crown new emperors. But never quite trust the old world will come back. If you strip away the togas in Latin, the pattern is invariably familiar. A state makes promises it can't afford. Instead of cutting back or raising honest taxes, it quietly debases the money. For a while, everyone pretends. Then prices climb, trust erodes, and people closest to the state, the soldiers, contractors, and cronies, get made whole, while everyone else pays in hidden inflation. Rome just did it with furnaces and silver wash instead of printing presses and spreadsheets. The coins got darker, the numbers got bigger, the reality underneath got thinner. Rome didn't fall the day it debased its currency, but the day that it decided the arithmetic was optional. The end of the old order had already been minted. This has been The Roman Pattern. I'm Jeremy Ryan Slate. Be sure to like this video, leave us a comment, and smash that subscribe button if you want more of The Roman Pattern.